Today I'm going to be pranking Tensei RYU-GE Anva with this egg, so when he opens the door it'll smash on the floor and ruin his life. Tensei RYU-GE Anva.
Open up the door.
Tensei RYU-GE Anva.
Open up
Tensei RYU-GE Anva.
Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. We are just about on the cusp of Cory, but before we return to Yugi Slop, I want to take a last look at a deck made playable at the bitter end of Blazing Dominion. Presenting RYU-GE. That can't be right.
Are you gay?
So here's the list. Michael Smith's from the Top 32 UK National Championship. No, again, that can't be right. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Despite what some Yugi-tubers who shall not be named would have you believe, the TCG is alive and well. And if you're looking to start your journey into paper, there's no better place to begin than Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. With up-to-the-minute reporting on every major tournament worldwide, searchable and interactable pie charts and deck lists, and all the bells and whistles you've come to expect from one of the best draft and collection management sites on the net, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the place to be. Check it out today at www.RYU-GE.com. Now back to the video. With that, let's react to RYU-GE. RYU-GE is an archetype most known for being the other cards in the pack with Malice and Raziel. It's got a reasonably interesting cell. Each one of their behemoth beasts has an associated continuous that restricts your opponent's movement in some way, as well as a good stat line to play some of the best generic negation tools ever printed. Unfortunately, with just an obscene amount of bricks, it never ascended to the heights of its colleagues and generally faded into the obscurity that all YouTube combo decks inevitably face. Until now! There have been a few changes to the deck since we last examined it. Firstly, it's playing Anva, the Alliance Insight release meant to complement their other high-attack pendulum monster, Mistva. Secondly, it's on 60 cards, which mitigates the brickiness. And thirdly, it's playing one of the most interesting cards in the format, SUBSPACE Battle. This card rewards duelists for having high-attack monsters in the deck, but locks out their monster effects, perfect for the high-attack pendulums in this strategy. It's still shocking this was able to put up an impressive result, but there's got to be something here. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, 3 copies of Sosei RYU-GE Mistva, 3 copies of Tensei RYU-GE Anva, and then 2 apiece of Emva, Hakva, and 1 Kaiva for our RYU-GEs. After that, we've got 3 copies of Manju, the 10,000 Hands, 1 Carbon, and a Gar Dragon Justicia. Listen, when you're on 60, you get away with a lot. We've got 3 copies of Warzone, 3 copies of Rising, and then 1 apiece of each of the continuouses. Important here is the Wormwinds is Macrocosmos. We've got our search spells, 3 copies of the Melody of Awakening Dragon, and 3 copies of SUBSPACE Battle. Now, importantly, if your opponent catches on to what you're doing, they can kind of play around it. For that reason, we're also playing a bunch of one-of hand traps that theoretically you could search. We've got a Pot of Prosperity, an Instant Fusion, a Terraforming, and then a RYU-GE Rivalry, a RYU-GE End, 3 copies of Mulcharmy Fuelos, 3 copies of Perulio, 1 apiece of Ash Blossom and Droll, 3 Fallen of the Virtuous, 3 Forbidden Crown, 3 Super Polymerization, 3 Thrust, a Talents, a Crossout, a Called By, and an Infinite Impermanence. How's that for a Crossout pool? In the extra, we have a Salman Great Almirage, an Armorile, the Star Leader Dragon, and then Millenniumize Restrict, a Sea Monster of Theseus, Garura, Mud Dragon, the Dragon that Devours the Dogma, Albion, Ecclesia the Dark Dragon, Glaciosaurus, Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon, Supreme King's Arc Synchro version, Arcray Dragon, and double Varudris in the side. We've got Lava Golems, a Harpy's Feather Duster, a Raigeki, double Forbidden Droplet, double Book of Eclipse, 3 different dimension ground for double the macro, and then the Solemn Suite. That's right, the Solemn Suite is back. I guess we have to start calling it the Solemn Suite again. So with that, let's check out some games. Our first match is up against Mitsurugi and showcases one of the big strengths of this strategy, an inability to lose to Super Poly. We're going to begin with a copy of Melody of Awakening Dragon, and thank God it resolved. We'll get Mistva and Anva. We'll activate the effect of the Mistva in Pendulum Zone, then use the effect of the War Zone to just go plus infinity. We will go ahead and banish this copy of Hakva, grab the Wormwinds, then use the Carbon to summon out a Gar Dragon Justicia before activating Hakva to summon itself back and Synchro Summon a Vengeance. Now it's War Zone time. Let's get 1, 2, 3 here, a Hakva, an Emva, and the Anva. We'll use the effect of the Anva and then bring out the Mistva in the EMZ on our way to popping 2 and setting the other 2. Afterwards, we'll activate the effect of the Anva, grab ourselves a copy of End, bring back the Emva, and activate the Kaiva in hand to summon it as well. overlaying for a Verudrus. We'll set one and pass back to our opponent, who will draw for turn. They're going to begin with a copy of Pre-Preparation of Rites, grabbing them a couple of cards. Next, they're going to go for Mitsurugi Ritual. That is probably worth the Verudrus here. They'll chain Forbidden Crown, will chain Fallen of the Virtuous to eat our own Verudrus, so that they have to target the Mistva instead. Afterwards, they're going to go for Habakiri in order to summon and then tribute a copy of Aramasa, but remember, we have macro up. Aramasa will trigger. They're going to go for the effect of Wasu, then activate the effect of their Kusanagi to bring back this copy of Mitsurugi Ritual. They'll summon out a copy of Habakiri, trigger the effect of their Murakumo, and we'll activate Ryuge End in order to banish their monster. From here, we will Droll and Lockbird on their way to Mitsurugi Mirror, summoning out the Mitsurugi Murakumo, eating our monster, but leaving us with a Mistva, which sticks around in the EMZ. At end step, they will be able to negate our float, but we can contest their negation on our turn by using the effect of the Mistva. We'll go to the main phase and activate the Mistva we searched, activating its effect in the scale for a war zone, and now that the Murakumo is off, we can just go as hard as we want for as long as we want. We'll summon an Anva, a Kaiva, and a Hakva before activating Anva, contesting that last back row and going Verudrus before activating our Hakva in order to cycle for a Dino Domains. Next, we will switch our monster to attack position, activate Kaiva, and send everything to the yard before getting in for lethal. So that's how the deck performs on the play, but what does it do on the draw? Well, our opponent for Game 2 is playing Power Patron, and though we have drawn Droll and Lockbird, this deck really sets up a board. They're going to begin with first action non-finito, setting an Impasto Recapture on their way to Zagredo. They'll go Fallen of the Virtuous, popping the Zagredo, then triggering the effect of the Zagredo in order to grab a Terminus. We'll Droll, but that is perfect recapturing material. Afterwards, they'll fire off the Terminus in order to grab themselves a copy of Medius the Pure, then activate the Medius the Pure in order to summon from deck a copy of Junodoro. From here, they can go for Beyond the Pendulum, triggering its effect and the effect of the Junodoro in order to cycle back the Zagredo and add the big boy himself. They'll set scales here, and then afterwards they will perform a Pendulum Summon, summoning the Junodoro from the extra before activating the Vidrium effect to grab a copy of Nervado. From here, they can activate the Scale Vidrium effect. They'll banish 3 to cycle for Junodora, and then they'll make Exceed the Pendulum on their way through the Nervado effect, summoning a Zagredo. They'll add back the Vidrium, scale it once again, and then go for Null Power Patron Realm, a Verudrus of their own, and go ahead and summon out this Nervado as well. At end step, they will bring back the non-finito and trigger the effect of their Albion for another Fallen of the Virtuous. We'll draw for turn. Another Normal's not great. We'll lead Instant Fusion. That's going to grab us a copy of Millenniumizer Strict, which probably contests something. We'll go for Mistva. They have Fallen of the Virtuous, and that's as bad as it gets. We'll Pot of Prosperity, but I really struggle to think what could get us out of this. Finding out the top. I guess Melody might do it. We'll go for Melody. They'll go Finito, and they'll tag into a Dragostapelio as we add both. They'll trigger the effect of the Nervado for a Junodoro. We'll normal summon a Manju, trigger its effect for the third copy of Mistva. Then we'll go Anva to summon itself. We'll use its on-field effect targeting the Verudrus. They will activate Dragostapelia. We'll contest the Dragostapelia, and they will contest the Millenniumizer Strict, courtesy of the Verudrus. From here, unfortunately, our monster is going to be negated, and they'll use Exceed the Pendulum to bring back Zagredo before we go to the battle phase and trigger the effect of the Junodoro ourselves, adding them back in Nervado, and popping our own copy of Anva so we can set Ryuge End and activate its effect, shuffling 2, and contesting that Dragostapelia. Unfortunately, that's all we've got. So they're going to be able to activate the effect of Vidrium. They will just go ahead and send it, then activate its effect in face-up extra monster zone, shuffling 3 back to summon itself at 10 quadrillion attack. They'll banish everything, go to the battle phase, and kill us. So it's time for Game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing what else but Cool Tune, and our hand looks good. They only have one hand trap 2 times here, the Bell. We're going to go for the Mistva first and foremost. We'll follow it up with an Anva, activate the Mistva effect, and grab ourselves a War Zone. We'll go Dino Domain, then activate War Zone, and we'll banish a whole bunch. We'll go Hakva effect in order to grab Worm Winds, activate Worm Winds, and then afterwards activate Carbonetin in order to summon a copy of Justitia. We'll activate Hakva in order to summon it, and then down comes Vengeance Dragon on our way to War Zone. That will be contested by the Ghost Bell, but we will be able to contest it ourselves with the Anva. We'll summon a whole bunch of monsters and trigger the effect of the Anva and the Anva in order to pop that copy of our Manju the 10,000 Hands, grab the Ryuge End, bring back the Mistva, trigger the effect of the Emva, and then afterwards overlay for Verudrus. We'll pass back to our opponent pretty satisfied with ourselves. Our opponent's going to begin with Infinite Impermanence on the Verudrus, but it's really hard for them to play under this Wormwinds. We'll go for the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon in response to their normal, and they will scoop it up. So it's time for game 2, and whoa, if that isn't 4 hand craps and a 1-card charter. Our opponent's going first. They're going to begin with a copy of Synchro Overtake. That will grab them from their deck a copy of Cool Tune Mix. They will activate the Mix. That's going to grab them a copy of Q. Q will grab them a copy of Unsurprisingly Rico, and Rico will grab from deck to hand a copy of Rotary. From here, they can make a track maker with the Q and the Rotary. They will look at our hand. It's got some breakers in it, and they'll go for the track maker afterwards. They'll add a KTS and a JJ Cool Tune before banishing one of our copies of Mistva and putting that Aqua on the bottom of the deck. They'll go for JJ Cool Tune, followed up with a Cool Tune Synchro, and on a remix in a Zaylin, set 2 and pass with 2 in hand. Pretty shocking stuff. All right, well, we're going to go for Mistva here. They will go for the Fallen of the Virtuous. Pretty good one. That is destroyed, but we can activate the Hakva in order to grab Wormwinds, to which our opponent activates Droll. That's worth a called by. They'll activate Zaylin in response, but we'll activate Droplet to negate everything. At point of resolution, we do get our Hakva activation. We will summon it to our side of the field, activate Wormwinds, then use Hakva's effect, targeting the Wormwinds into a Veiler. That is all they have left, which means we can activate the Emva, summoning it to our side of the field, overlaying for a Varudris, and activating Triple Tactics Thrust for a Terraforming. From here, we can Terraforming for the card that makes us go plus infinity, the RYU-GE Warzone. We will activate it, and then we will summon out an Amva and an Emva and a Hakva. Unfortunately, we're going to normal this Carbonedon on our way to Armalile, the Star Leader Dragon. That's why he's in there. And then we'll make a Snake Eyes Vengeance. They will Solemn Warning that, but that's all she wrote. We can use the effect of the Varudris to eat the JJ Cool Tune, trigger the effect of the Mistva, pop our own copy of Warzone, and keep up a Wormwinds for our opponent's turn. 1 negate into 1 card is probably not going to do it. We will go ahead and negate the effect of the Albion at end step. They've drawn literally the best card in their deck, but it's just not going to be enough, and we take the set in 2. So we're back with the deck, and I'm shocked, personally. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, Anva's protection and easy access in Engine insulates this deck's biggest choke point, which is interruption to the Pendulum or the Field Spell. So a lot of the time, your opponent rarely gets a chance to hand trap you at all. 2, the deck has a lot of consistency in Engine, as well as access to a Dimensional Fissure effect, which just straight up shuts down a significant amount of the meta, especially Cool Tune. And 3, the end board is really interesting. It's an Omni and Varudris, a Monster Negate, a Di-Fi, and a Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon, but it also dodges a lot of the most popular Super Poly targets right now, so it's kind of an ineffective breaker into the deck's standard board. And the cons. 1, the deck is still fragile. 1 interruption can leave you dead in the water if you don't see Anva, and Ash or Ghost Ogre will just end your turn on the spot. This makes going second with Engine pieces extremely hard, forcing reliance on breakers. Obviously, we're playing a lot, but sometimes you don't see them, especially in 60. 2, Lava Golem and Sphere Mode just turn off most of your interruptions, leaving the Di-Fi and maybe Vengeance Dragon live. And 3, while this build does get to go to 60 cards to maximize consistency without bricking, you still can brick. Finding the non-penned bodies is a real problem. Overall, this deck found a great weakness in the metagame that its engine could take advantage of, and it made a great showing for a rogue deck, but I don't know if it's going to be sticking around. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are made possible by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have spent a lot of money to be mentioned at the end of this video. Those are Van, Unban Meowmoo, Absolutely Fran, Elena Tincher, Allison Elliott, Ally, Astagaffa Jas, APK Pearly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Cap, Cool Name, Daniel Howell, Dark Rebel XYZ, El Gravo, Emiliano Deverio, NB Adams, Erarizuku, Fabrizio Petroli, Galactic Joey, Pergalicious, Jackie Z, JP, Cole Offline, Legal Rights, Lucas Rosas, Luis Hernandez, Matthew M. Derezo, MBT Hablando en Español, MBT Plema Dolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho, Pombo, Pyramid Artisan Field Cloths TCG Accessories, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Shifter.mp8, Sly Ninja 43, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Who's Nick, Yeth, Yoven and Nunik, Yuki Kazami, Yuki, and Zircon Sun. Couldn't have done it without you.